Welcome to the Sixth Wheels Consulting Podcast, dialoguing disability and discussing difference, inclusion, and all abilities in today's world. Now here are your hosts, Matthew Shapiro and Bob Nolly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode 10 of the Sixth Wheels Consulting Podcast. This is Bob Nolly here with my good buddy, Matthew Shapiro. Matthew, how are you?
I'm great, Bob. How are you? I'm so excited that we made it to episode 10. This is awesome.
This is, let's not overlook this. Double digits is a big deal.
We reached double digits.
And yeah, of course, we're doing the math and we're thinking triple digits is a lot further away. But let me tell you what this means. Folks that do a podcast go 10 episodes. That's a real milestone. The first 10 is a big deal. Think of the effort that you've had to put forth. I don't know, we should be patting each other on the back on the air, but think of the effort that you personally had to put forth to get this done so far.
Well,
if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right. And so, first thing I would say is just thank you again to our listeners that we've made it to episode 10 and it appears people are coming back to us and they're liking our content. So that's exciting, and I'm ready to do 10 more and keep the party growing.
10 more, yeah. Let's get the next 90 underway right now. Hey, that's a good idea. Remind me to say thanks to folks here. Let me see. We thanked folks last week, so let's say thanks. Oh yeah, a great podcast from Fred B.E.S. Fred B.E.S. Thanks, Fred. He says this is such a beneficial topic for people with or without a disability. I'm looking forward to hearing more. That's cool, Fred. Thanks very much. Gave us nice 5 stars. Good. Cavalier Fan 87. Love the pod. 5 stars. Keep it up, 6 wheels. That's kind of like a cheer. That's cool. Keep it up,
Love
6
it.
Wheels.
Love it.
One more. MED7 says engaging and interesting. Gee, I'm kind of blushing over that. Engaging and interesting. A really great podcast that covers topics about disability that should be heard by everyone. Well, that's the whole point, Emmy97. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
MED7. Sorry, MED7. Want to make sure the love lands where it's supposed to land. There it is.
Right. Awesome.
Okay, so we're here chatting a little bit before we pull the plug and push the buttons and spun the tapes and all the magic that happens. And we're just both lamenting that we're not going to tell you what the date is, but it's a Tuesday. All right? It's a Tuesday here. And the two of us are kind of suffering from the energy level here. We at only Tuesday we should have a little bit more on the stick here.
Sure.
We already got the weekend in sight, and it's just freaking Tuesday night.
I will try to bring the energy in. I'm excited.
No. That wasn't a call to action. No. It just.
I will bring the energy. How about that?
Yeah. Bring the energy. Wow. We'll need it right now. Inject here, please. So I won't bore everybody with my weekend. Why I'm just so energy beladen or bereft. Why I'm so energy bereft. How about you? What's your week looked like so far?
So it's been a busy week. Had meetings pretty much all week. Continuing to grind with 6 Wheels and the work that we're doing. We've got about 5 or 6 speaking shows coming up here soon.
5 or 6.
Yeah, so we're very busy on that front. And
those are in-person appearances by you, right? I mean, you're going on the road to take the cause out.
People will not only hear my lovely voice like they hear on the podcast, but they will see my beautiful face. Hopefully, people think it's beautiful anyway.
How nice, my beautiful face.
But so I'm going to be doing some stuff in some schools. I'm going to be doing something at VCU. I'm going to be going on the road with my agency to do some stuff for my agency. So a lot of good stuff happening on that front, and a lot of good stuff happening just overall in general, and glad to be back on the podcast tonight.
Sure. Now I'm not asking you, and I'm glad to be here too. I'm not asking you to peel back the sheets and let us see everything yet, but when you talk about your agency work, what kind of things are you working on right now? If you can.
Yeah, so for my agency, what I mean is, and I think I referenced this before, but for my agency, I'm represented by a talent agency, Metropolis Management, and they help me get on college campuses and do presentations on college campuses for students. And so we have, at the end of the month, we have what's called a showcase, to where I go and I showcase a portion of my program. But actually, that's actually called a showcase. What I'm actually doing is called an ed session. And so I'm doing an ed session on one of my programs, which is called Leadership on a Roll. Sorry, I was having a moment. It's called Leadership on a Roll, and it's different forms of leadership, and kind of my go-to leadership strategies that I've sort of developed myself, and I'm just helping to share that with students. And it's going to be a great leadership talk, and hopefully, the students will like it when we do it, when we're at the showcase, but then I'll be able to branch that out to other schools and other universities is the hope.
That just sounds great. And I think, I'm not giving away any secrets here, but I think that was part of, I guess for lack of a better word, the attraction when I first heard you speak, and then I talked to you about getting you on the air here.
Sure,
Plus,
yeah.
I come from the leadership streak as well, so I think that's a topic that resonates with us both. And I'm not going to slide the conversation over there at this point, talk about that, because I will talk about it all night. So, and if you want to hear some of that, go over to Labrador Leadership, and that's where I talk about that over there.
Sure.
So, but what is an appearance like when you actually are on site when you go there?
Oh, I love it. It's great because when you're doing those things, you're helping students, you're having a good time, you're making students laugh, you're educating them. I don't do it for like the fame and the fortune, so to speak, although in some situations that can be kind of cool. But I'm also very humble and appreciative of all of my opportunities. But I love being able to share a message with students and hopefully have them take something away from it. Because, again, that's just another way of me sort of spreading a message and helping to get people to think differently about disability and think about, being a more inclusive world and thinking about inclusion and disability on a deeper level.
When you said schools, I just assumed college-age students and universities. Do you go to younger schools?
Yeah, so the answer to both questions is yes. One of the things that I'm currently working on is a tour, a K-12 tour, particularly in Virginia, where I'm from. We're trying to get into, we'll start in Virginia, hopefully, get into a lot of schools, K-12 schools, and then, or if that does well, we'd be able to expand from there. But so I have my K-12 world where I do some speaking, and then my other main world is the college market, which is always a good market, particularly for orientations and helping students get acclimated to adjusting to being freshmen in college, freshman students. And I feel that I have unique messages that I share with both K-12 students and college students. One of my favorite things to do during any sort of program is to have people just fire questions at me. And because I never know what they're going to ask, and they always kind of keep me on my toes. And I think that those types of conversations sort of breed good outcomes, good dialogue, and those are always my favorite parts of different appearances like that.
So if you were at a university setting right now, as we sat here, you don't have to craft a speech, but what would be, in your mind, in your heart, what would be the number one message you want to get out? If they gave you an open bill, please bring a topic, whatever you want.
Oh man, there's so many I could talk about because
yeah, but that's not the question. I know, because you could. I know you well enough to know the list is long and you could bring it. But the one thing that's at the top of your heart that you want to get out, what would you talk about?
Diversity comes in many different forms. I think we have all of these great diversity conversations at our colleges and universities, and we're talking about, in most cases, we're talking about racial diversity, ethnic diversity, LGBTQ diversity, but and we've touched on this a little bit on the podcast before, but we're not including disability in that conversation. And so I really want people to view all forms of diversity as valuable and as appreciated. And, hopefully I could get a dialogue started where I'm changing perceptions of students about the diversity conversation. And, the other thing is I want people to become more comfortable with being around somebody that has a disability. The other aspect to it is a lot of times when I go to a school, many of those people have never interacted with somebody who uses a wheelchair. And so for me, that is an opportunity to expand someone's awareness and knowledge about, being a person with a disability. So, and understanding, that the next time they see somebody like me, they can have knowledge to draw from. And, like I said, we've touched on that previously, but I think those two things, diversity and understanding disability in general, is my big passion points for sure.
Well, man, I think that's just a super powerful message, because we see the word diversity and we hear that, and I don't know, I'm just going to inject it. More often than not, when we talk about diversity, I think people think ethnic diversity first. I've done something earlier where I've reminded people of age diversity as well. And it kind of strikes me that we all want to do something about it. And we talk about the word diversity, and just the word itself comes from the same root as divide.
Right.
Which is, just kind of ironic. I'll just say
that.
Ironic,
isn't it? Right?
But the secret password, the secret solution to this diversity, whether it be disability or ethnic or age or anything, the password is inclusion.
Yes.
And that's why I just, on the sign off we do every week here, the last word I say is, think inclusion. And sure. I think that's a great message for us.
And I would 100% agree with that too. And I would love to see, we as a society have gotten better with inclusion, but I still think there's, a long way for us to go with inclusion. We still have schools that are, from a disability standpoint, most of the inclusion conversation for me is going to be around the disability standpoint, obviously. But we still have situations where people with the most severe and significant disabilities are not fully included in their schools. They're still in separate classrooms. They're not included in great opportunities for extracurriculars or different things like that. You're seeing a lot of different organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and other nationwide organizations really trying to take on more of an inclusive approach so that people with disabilities can be fully included. And it's but I don't think we are fully there yet, and we are fully an inclusive society. And that too is one of my charges as to why I started the work that I've started, is I want our world to be a fully or as the most inclusive a world as possible. And I think, it goes back to all of those other conversations we've had, right, previously. There's some stigma related to it. There's some fear related to it. There's not knowing what to do about it. And really, inclusion really is as simple as just starting to welcome people of all shapes, colors, sizes, backgrounds, able-bodied or disabled, into the same world. And not, one of the things that I think happens a lot is families of people with disabilities want to be so protective of their young child or young person with a disability that they are sheltering in a way. And while I do agree that inclusion is on a massive push, and I'm very fortunate to live in a state that is incredibly inclusive, and thinks about disability inclusion on the forefront. There are still people who don't want Johnny or Sally to do that because they might get hurt, or they might do something that the rest of society wouldn't expect. And that's not necessarily, breeding inclusion. And so one challenge I would say, particularly to parents, is like, it's okay to let go, so to speak. One of the things I always talk with parents about is you've got to be willing to let go. Not only from an inclusion standpoint, but just a life in general standpoint, right? Like, so often our parents are, with all the greatest intentions in the world, and we love our parents for this, they're not necessarily, in some cases, allowing their young person to grow because they are what they call the helicopter parent, or, just hovering in so many situations. One of the things I always say is the greatest times to learn is when we fail. You learn most from your failures.
Applause. I'm right with you there. Yep.
And so, we have to be willing to let go. And that's where inclusion really sort of starts to do that, right? Because we can see that Johnny can be included in the same classroom, or we can see that, Jessica can be part of the Girl Scout troop, or, be in the community at this event and be with her, disabled peers and her able-bodied peers. And the other thing that I have learned over my time is that if you do inclusion correctly, it helps everyone, right? And everyone gains something from it. So inclusion is a huge step that we need to continue to make and continue to make great strides in. We're doing a great job, but as I always say, we can do better.
So you made the comment about parenting, and you talked about helicopter parents and the like, and
Sure.
have to be harder for the parents of the disabled to let go. Here at episode 10, I'm circling around the most personal question I've asked you yet. Do you remember if not the first moment, do you remember a really important moment where your folks just let go?
Oh, I know of an immediate opportunity for me. It happened when I was a little bit older, but it was when my parents finally said, "Okay, Matthew, you're with your friend Andre, or you're with your friend Zach, and you want to go somewhere. So we're going to give you guys the keys, and we're going to let your friends drive our minivan," right? And so that experience and that opportunity has allowed me to not always be dependent on my parents to want to go hang out with my friends, right? Like, so many situations, my friends come over, they'll come pick me up, we'll drive our van to wherever we'll go. So as a 27-year-old, I can go out on a Friday night and have a drink, or I can, and yes, parents, I would say it is okay for your of age disabled young person to, have an adult beverage. I can't tell you how many times I'll be giving a talk and I'll say, I'm 27, I go out and have an adult beverage, and the parents sort of look at me like I'm dumbfounded. One of the other things that's really important about inclusion is treating everyone age appropriately, right? And not sort of sheltering anyone based on their age. Now, obviously, you wouldn't give an underage minor a beverage like that.
No.
But and I'm certainly not condoning that, but I am saying, treat everyone age appropriately. So, yes, your disabled youngster, if they are age appropriate, can partake in things like that and can do things that adults would do. But like I said, I can't tell you how many times, parents sort of give you that oh my goodness look. But you got to treat things age appropriately. And so for me, getting back to your original question, having that ability to be able to go out with friends when we wanted, and have my friends come pick me up and go to movies and go to sporting events and go over to friends' houses whenever has been a huge level of independence for me, and has also allowed for a huge level of inclusion, because I can go over to a friend's house, watch a game, go to a restaurant, go out for a birthday dinner, so many other different things that, at the age of 27 wasn't really happening for me 10, 15 years ago. And I give I give my parents a ton of credit for allowing me that freedom. And my mom has always said, like, you can have as much leeway you want as long as you know what's right and wrong. And as long as you don't do anything that would, put your life in jeopardy or cause you opportunities to get in some serious trouble, you are fine. Just make sure that you're making smart decisions and being a smart adult. And so, that level of inclusion for me has really helped me grow, because I'm allowed to have that freedom. I go over to a friend's house pretty much every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, and just kind of hang out with my friend and his fiance and some of our other friends. And I'm over there regularly, and they are, one of the nicest things is, like, they sort of see me as a regular guy, right? And I know that's a silly thing to say, but the ultimate sort of comfort for me is when people, obviously they know I'm in a chair, but it's almost like when people don't see the chair, right? And they see me, Matthew, the amazing friend, the amazing person, the smart ass on occasion. Like,
Oh no, that never happens. That never happens.
Right. Just like any other 27-year-old, I can be witty with my friends and they can give me crap, but I can give them crap right back. So, not only is there school inclusion, but I also think there is, like, natural support inclusion where you have your friends who are there to help you go places, and natural supports are things that, we need to also talk about in terms of an inclusion approach. And so, natural supports, for those that don't know, are just those supports that they're not paid supports. They're not given to us by a government agency, but they're just your natural supports, like friends and family and people who just like being around you. So for me, my natural supports really are my friends. When I go over to a friend's house I need something, I'm able to ask them for help and have those natural supports, and not always have to have somebody like an adult there, or not have to have a paid person there to help sort of facilitate those things. And so, natural supports also assist with more inclusion of people with disabilities. And I think that's,
Yep, absolutely. And that kind of has now brought us full circle back to our discussion of, we're exhausted and it's only Tuesday, because now you're looking forward to the weekend where you can do some of that hanging out.
Yes. I've got a busy weekend planned already. But it's good opportunities to, again, hang out with friends and have sort of that inclusion piece, and be part of the community. I've got a big event coming up this weekend, and then I've got some other friends coming into town. So excited about the weekend, and just, again, sort of want people to remember, like, inclusion is super important, and we need to do whatever we can do to cultivate inclusive outcomes, whether it's in school, in our communities, at churches. Put systems in place where everyone can be included and everyone can take part in every aspect that our community and our society has to offer.
Oh, that's just great. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to episode 10 of the Six Wheels Consulting Podcast, double digits. Here's the price you pay for hearing this from Matthew. All you have to do this week, go to the Six Wheels Consulting Facebook page and like the page.
Yes.
That's all you have to do.
Yes.
The second thing, while you're on the page, after you hit the like button, is you have to ask Matthew a question. And coming up soon, we'll answer them on the air. All right.
Yes.
So just don't be short with it. Give us a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll answer on the air here. Matthew, thanks very much, everyone. Come back next time. Keep rolling and think inclusion.
Thanks, Bob.